Samoa are one of the most vital nations in the sport of rugby union. The Pacific Islanders produce world-class talent and have given fans incredible memories over the years. We tend to think of Samoa as one of the sport's underdogs, a typical Tier 2 nation. But a little over a decade ago, they were one of the most fearsome and successful rugby teams out there, and they had their Tier 1 opponents running scared.
Never in my life have I been honest enough to say to a coach I was scared. But if someone asked me after 20 minutes today if I'm scared, I would have said yes.
We start in 2010. Samoa won the Pacific Nations Cup for the first time and headed north for the November tour. They played Ireland, England and Scotland. They lost all 3 games, but the score lines might surprise you. They lost the 3 matches by a cumulative 26 points. Not 26 points per game, 26 points in total. The highest points conceded was 26 against England at Twickenham. This though was far from their highest points. Less than a year later, ahead of the 2011 World Cup, coached by Australian Scott Wisemantel and inspired by legendary winger Alassana Tuilagi, Samoa beat Australia in Sydney 32 points to 23. They led the whole game. The scoreline only looked respectable for Australia thanks to 18 second half points from none other than Matt Giteau. And so they went into the World Cup later that year filled with optimism. Samoa actually have a decent record at World Cups, winning 15 of their 36 matches, and at that time had never won less than half of their pool games. They reached the quarterfinals twice before in 91 and 95 and gotten extremely close to doing so again in 99 and 2003. To start 2011, they beat Namibia comfortably and saw off fellow islanders Fiji with ease. They fought a tough battle against the Welsh and were winning 10-6 at half-time, only for a Shane Williams try to help the men in red get the win, 17 points to 10. Their last pool game was against the Springboks, who they gave an almighty scare. The game ended 13 points to 5 with the Boks scoreless in the second half. They may have ended up going home, but the most points the Samoans had conceded in any of their World Cup matches was 17 to Wales. They averaged letting in just 13 points per game. Any side would be proud of that record. 2012 rolled around. They suffered an agonising 17-16 defeat to Scotland, but it didn't knock their confidence. They once again won the Pacific Nations Cup before heading north in the autumn. This time they beat Wales in Cardiff 26 points to 19 before narrowly losing to France in Paris 22 points to 14. For 2013, Samoa skipped the Pacific Nations Cup to play in the South African quadrangular tournament. I haven't made that up, that really happened. During this, they beat both Scotland and Italy. In 4 years, they had played 9 games against Six Nations sides, won 3 of them, and their average losing margin was just 7 points. They played all but one of these games away from home. After this, Samoa entered something of a slump. Scorelines crept up, and so did off-the-pitch issues. Players retired, coaches left, and political wranglings brought the team to its knees. And yet, these days, Samoa are actually back to winning more games than they lose. They have a very decent record against Pacific rivals Fiji and Japan, and usually beat any other Tier 2 nation that they face, including Georgia. They lifted another Pacific Nations Cup in 2022 before giving Ireland a panic in a pre-World Cup friendly. They arguably underperformed at the 2023 World Cup itself, losing 3 of their 4 games, but the margins were once again down to single figures each match. Their 2024 fixture list could easily see them win over half their games. On the 5th of July, they once again defeated Italy, their first win over a Tier 1 nation in a decade. They have now won more games against Tier 1 nations than Georgia, Fiji or Japan. Sadly though, the off-field troubles have returned, as Samoa cancelled their Northern Hemisphere tour in the autumn due to severe financial difficulties. It now seems like it may be some time before we see a return to those incredible scenes from a decade ago. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel, and thank you for watching.